In 1919, he hit 29 home runs and was sold to the New York Yankees.
A 3-run home run for Buffington. The Yankees now lead it by a score of 3-2.
Bill Lee is now going over to a couple of the Yankees, and there they go again.
Hits it to deep left. That might send the Yankees to the World Series.
Varitek and A-Rod going at it. Roberts is going. Posada's throw. Roberts safe.
What can I say? Just tip my hat and call the Yankees my daddies.
Welcome to Fanbase, a deep dive into the greatest rivalry in sports. Brian Shackman, John Senecal, and we welcome in Tim Restall. Are you just the president of the Hartford Yard Goats, or you still got the GM thing too?
No. That's Mike.
Okay.
They give me the title team president.
Team president.
Yeah, so I added the team a couple of years ago.
Why?
Just because there was, some things going on with presidents and things like that. And I said, you know what, let me be the team president so that we go in that direction.
Well, there's the White House lawn, and then there's this. I actually think this is.
I think we got this. This is much nicer.
Yeah,
lawn.
this is awesome.
By far, one of the nicer minor league parks out there.
Well, we talk about it ad nauseum. For a while there, when you were in New Britain before this sucker got finished, it must have been pretty stressful though, because you had some hiccups, right?
Yeah,
this
no,
together.
absolutely. It was there was a little bump at the road, and we. But we got through it, and 2017. It was hard to believe. That was our first season, and actually this week, the governor had a press conference, and the mayor across the street talking about some development happening around the ballpark. And I said, when did we do the groundbreaking? And it was 7 years ago. 7 years ago, 5 months.
I was going to say 17 years
yeah,
ago. I feel like
I have the gray hair to prove it.
But it's one of the few things that's done in my journalism career, especially in this area, that makes total sense that actually happened, right? There's a lot of stuff that makes sense that never happens. But a downtown ballpark, even in a mid-sized city, just makes so much sense.
Yeah, for those that don't know the story, the team was formerly in New Britain, Connecticut.
Right, the Rockcats,
which is nowhere near Hartford as far as if people are going to travel. It's 15 minutes, 20 minutes away. But they were the New Britain Rockcats, and now they're the Hartford Yard Goats. But you actually came to New Britain right around when the transition was starting to get out of there. So that had to have been interesting. Did you know that coming in?
Well, they already were sold, right? I mean, that was the thing.
Well,
the
I'm
new
talking
owners,
about coming to Hartford.
Right. I think the team, the group that bought the team, check me if I'm wrong, brought him in.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So 2000 in 2012, the Solomon family bought New Britain Rockcats. I was working for their dad up in New Hampshire, the New Hampshire Fisher Cats, and they started me coming down like once a week just to help out because I have a food and beverage background, but I also was running the food up in New Hampshire at the New Hampshire Fisher Cats, but I also would do sponsorship, advertisement, help marketing, help operations. So they said, can you go down and start helping out, just a day a week, and one day turned into two, turned into weeks. And then in 2013, we had the Eastern League All-Star game. And then about in mid-May, I went down there and they promoted me to general manager. And the goal was to be in New Britain for just the summer. And, so I had my family, my kids up in New Hampshire. And I said, all right, let me just, pack my car and drive down, and got a hotel room, and I spent the 2013 season working there, and the goal was only for the summertime. And then all of a sudden, sure enough, they're like, do you want to stay? And I'm like, this is a great ballpark, great staff. The staff was unbelievable. And I'm like, I love the community, I love the opportunity. And when you work in baseball, in minor league baseball, there's not like one in every corner. So, for me being from New England and New Hampshire, to be able to, relocate 2 hours away and be in the same industry, it was a home run, and that was in 2013. And then 2014 is when they announced the team was relocating to Hartford.
And his question, because I want to go back to some things, but his question was, did you know that was the goal?
No, not at all.
Okay.
Not at all. I went down to come down to...
No, the goal to move from New Britain to Hartford.
Correct. It was not. I did not know that. It was done... ownership had made that decision and not communicated to anyone. So I was down here working in New Britain and trying to figure out how we're going to change the setup and all those things. And all of a sudden one day I got a call from the mayor saying, I heard, you guys are talking about moving. I'm like, we're not moving. We're not going anywhere.
And then you're a liar.
Oh, yes, you are.
and then all of a sudden I said, hey, they called. They go, actually, we are. And I'm like, oh, great. So it was, and for us, it was day to day. It didn't matter because we have to operate on, the games that we have and what we do and not planning for the future. So, 2014 was, a unique year. 2015 was, with us leaving, it was a even more unique year.
So I want to take a step back because if this whole podcast started off as Red Sox Yankees and morphed into baseball. I have two tracks I want to talk about. I want to talk about you as a non-professional and as a fan, but I also want to get back to the professional and how you, not just the last part of how you got to where you are. So I think we should step back and just ask the simple question. You grew up in New Hampshire. You grew up liking
the Red Sox.
Okay, thank you.
Of course he did.
Of course, well, I'm just saying. And so I don't want to age you, but what year were you born?
I was born in 72.
Okay, so 72. So you probably don't have a memory of 75. You probably saw the highlights, but morphed into a memory. Because I'm 71. So, I remember Bernie Carbo and Carlton Fisk, but I know I didn't see it live, Yeah. And so do you remember 78?
So I remember... So I grew up in Raymond, New Hampshire, and that was the hometown of Carlton Fisk. So I actually played Little League with his kids. So that's probably 78, 79. And I remember watching him on TV, which was cool. So I remember that.
He wasn't around the ballpark, the Little League park. That'd been great.
Oh, I remember because we owned my dad and mom owned an ice cream stand, and I remember after Little League we would go there, and the team was on the road, and he would be there with his kids, and so
was this kid any good?
I don't remember, but you know who was? You want to talk
if he was good, we would have heard about it.
Probably. So across the street from me was a kid that I grew up playing with, was Chris Carpenter.
Oh, wow.
So I have
and then there's you.
And then there's me, the fat guy from New Hampshire that works in baseball. So and I have some great stories about Chris Carpenter and his brother, and I got to meet Chris a couple years later, but grew up as a Red Sox fan, Dwight Evans, Fred Lynn, Jim Rice, Rich Gedman, those are, so
I still think he could have had that. I think that Bob Stanley. I mean, I consider that I don't know if that's a pass ball.
Yeah.
Me,
so
anyway,
I caught in Little League. I was a catcher, and Rich Gedman was who I looked up to. So fast forward, we just talked about New Britain. I'm running the team in New Britain. And, every time the team would come in, you go and you talk to the team about, welcome to the ballpark, and here's my contact information. Do you need anything, or whatever the case it is? And usually you work with them if there's weather, because, when there's rain, you have to communicate what the plan is, how we're going to play baseball, how we're going to postpone it and such. And then, later in the year, all of a sudden, I got to meet Rich Gedman. And I've been able to meet some Red Sox idols that I grew up watching on the TV by working in baseball. And Rich, I got the same number as a catcher. I was always
10, right?
It was good memory. So a couple months later, all of a sudden I hear Tim, and I'm on the field walking in New Britain, and it's Rich Gedman, and he remembered my name, and I was like blown away So Rich Gedman.
So do you remember going, did you, because for instance, in my household, even though I'm a huge Red Sox fan now, I grew up in more of a Bruins and Celtics house. So I went to Bruins and Celtics games, but I very rarely, if at all, as a young kid, went to Fenway, which is kind of a bummer. I went to way more games once I was an adult, but do you have a first memory of Fenway?
I do. I don't remember the team. I remember going with my dad and my friend, and we had a great time, and just being, at Fenway Park. Underneath the, walking in and first time there, it was great.
He's John Senecal. I'm Brian Shackman. He's Tim Restall, the team president of the Hartford Yard Goats, the AA affiliate of the Colorado Rockies, and we're doing the fan base podcast directly from Dunkin' Donuts Park, which is, as John mentioned, one of the best parks in minor league baseball. In fact, I think it was voted the best park.
When you say minor league park, it doesn't look like a minor league park. As I look out over this, it's literally looks like.
All you got to do is stack another deck, and it's a major league park.
Right.
Really.
Yeah, another 30,000 seats or something would get there.
Yeah.
But it's got the character of a major league park.
It's the upper right field.
It confuses the crap out of me, by the way. I don't know what's a home run and not in right field.
Yeah.
So it's got to go to the second.
Jeff Dooley, it's the same thing.
It throws me off all the time.
All the time, yeah. That right. If you can see, there's a ribbon board in right field, and there's a little yellow pad that's right above it. So you have to hit that up there. That's like 25 feet in the air.
And the net is still out there?
The net is still out there, yep.
And the bullpen is out underneath. One of the bullpens is out underneath the outfield wall and right field.
You can watch it from the street, actually. And that gets me to, I love your bio, because I remember as a kid going to Canopy Lake Park, and like his rags to riches story is, you started off like in a booth, selling balloons or something.
Fried dough. I didn't get this way by selling balloons. I started with fried.
He ate the profits. Stop making fun of yourself. You look great. Did you know you wanted to be in baseball?
No, not. I knew food and beverage, and that was where I went to school. I got my first job when I was 16, working at the amusement park, and I applied to be in the rides department. And one of my friends had gone, and he applied and he got in the food service. He's like, "Listen, they called me that day, and I got the job." So I went and applied and got the job, and I ended up spending 10 years working every summer, and starting off from a concession stand worker to a stand supervisor to an area supervisor to being number 2 in the amusement park business and on the food and beverage side. And that's where I eventually started to go to school for accounting, and I did one, and no offense to any accountants, but I did one year of accounting, and I said, I can't do it. I need more interaction. I need
my wife would be like, "You are the smartest man in the world."
Because his wife's an accountant.
So I ended up switching to business admin, and I ended up growing my career, and then eventually wanting to see if the grass was greener. And working at Canopy Lake Park, I said, you know what? I'd like to see if there's something else. And then I saw an ad for the food and beverage manager for the West Michigan Whitecaps, which is a single A team in Grand Rapids, Michigan.
Are they still there?
They are.
Wow, they made it.
They made the cut.
It's beautiful. Yeah, they're there. And literally, it said in the ad, it said you must be able to stand on your feet 12 hours a day. And I laughed. I said, that's a half a day. Like, that's in the amusement park business, that was a half a day. So
you went out to Michigan.
Went to Michigan and worked for the single A affiliate of the Tigers.
I hate to say it, but like most people try to make it through the baseball ops path. So in some ways, it's a really interesting path. And did you meet resistance when it started to come to managing the whole thing?
No. So the food and beverage was like the I don't want to say stepchild, but like no one wanted to do it. Right. And I'm like, that's my industry. That's what I do.
And the ticket office are the two ways that you can get in that no one wants to do.
And sure enough, I just used that. And then obviously opportunity arose, and having I started learning about the business, right? So I said, I'm running a food and beverage operation. We have nothing going on in the winter. Can I learn ticket sales? Can I learn marketing? How do you guys do accounting? So I started learning all these things, and then all of a sudden helping out in different departments, and then eventually it all was able to come together when I became the general manager. And it was like, I'm not an expert in all of them, but I have enough to know. And I also take the philosophy that I'm not that smart, so I surround myself with smart people, and literally get people that know what they're doing in those departments, and then support them.
Yeah, but your experience translates though too, because with your background and technically kind of running a baseball team now. I mean, what better can you have is food and beverage and baseball? I mean, they go together like.
Well, where's the margin? The margin's in the food and beverage.
Exactly. So with your experience in that, I mean, it's invaluable. It's great.
I mean, and we try to, the marketing and then the understanding and, merchandise and all those things have just been very fortunate.
And there's also some very good food and beverage choices here, too.
Yeah, well, they got, with the Hartford Whalers Alumni Weekend, they brought in some fish and chips, too, which I might have to sample because I'm getting pretty hungry. John Senecal, Brian Chapman, fan base, a deep diver into the greatest rivalry in sports. We're with Team President Tim Restall of the Hartford Yard Goats, a AA affiliate of the Colorado Rockies. I mean, I have a ton of questions I'd love to ask you. I have Tim on a fair amount on my radio show on WTSC News Talk 1080, which you can stream, Brian and Company, if you want to. But I feel like the one area I'd like to go is, is this it for you? Like, is this what you want? Is there something more that you want? Don't lie to me you did the mayor of New Britain.
I didn't lie to. Hold on, for the record, I didn't lie to her. All right, make sure you get your facts right. I'll make sure you're back.
You didn't know.
So absolutely, this is it. This is it. First of all, we have great ownership, and they let us do our job. They let us, make mistakes, grow the business, do everything, make the impacts, Give us the right tools to do the right job, and that is a big part of this industry. Second of all, I live in Tallinn. My kids go to Tallinn schools. My son goes to Western New England. I love New England. So as long as they keep me, I'm going to stay. Some people, like, I grew up as a Red Sox fan, and a couple years ago, it's more like 15 years ago, there was a position that opened up, and I'm like, you know what, it would be always a dream of mine to have the Red Sox logo on my business card. Mm-hmm. That's what I wanted. And I talked to a good friend of mine, and he said, listen, you can either be the small fish in the big pond or the big fish in the small pond. And the ability to make impact, work with our staff. We have a lot of young staff, so be able to work with them and see them grow and be able to, expand their horizons and impact fans and really see smiles on people's faces. I love it here, and I'm going to stay here as long as I can.
What has your interaction been with over the last couple of years with Major League Baseball as far as all these rule changes that they've been working on implementing? Because obviously, they've started everything out in the minor leagues at the lower levels and then worked their way up, obviously, here and then AAA. But you've been with the pitch clock and what's the other one? We haven't done the shift yet.
Yeah, we have like some you can't. We have bigger bases, and the shift, you can't shift down in
and how much bigger is the base than a Major League base?
It goes from a small pizza box to a medium pizza or a large pizza box. It's a couple inches, I think 3 or 4 inches.
Right.
But
that's a lot to Angel Hernandez. 3 or 4 inches.
Exactly.
But when you think about it, when you watch replays on television, every night you watch a slow-mo replay, and that 2 or 3 inches is a difference somewhere on the field.
Yeah, absolutely.
Do you think these changes will make it? The one thing he brought, we talked on the radio about this, is that the one advantage that isn't talked about is that as people go to the majors, having had these changes in the minors, it's not as much a shock to the system when they implement it. So do you think that something like because now they do the pitch clock and it's stupid, no one pays any attention to it, but do you think they'll actually implement penalties do you think Max Scherzer is going to get pinched on a strike because he went too long?
You know what? This spring, I was our second homestand. We were on the road. I went up to New Hampshire, and all of a sudden I saw a violation. And I'm like, what's going on? And I get the emails and the rules. They're like, today's the first day enforcing it. So, and that was 3 months ago, and all our players have adjusted. Everyone's adjusted. So, I do think they're going to make those changes eventually. I think that's the future. Getting the time of the game. We all watched playoff baseball, which is great baseball, but when you get to that 4-hour mark, and you got to work the next day, it's just a little tough.
Yeah, it's not honestly and I like baseball a lot too, but it makes the overall experience actually bad. I think it's not Bill Burr who said it. It was I think it was Jerry Seinfeld who said it with Howard Stern, that you can go to a comedy show and it's an hour long and it's unbelievable, and if you go to 110, an hour and 10, you walk away thinking, man, that was just slow. Right. there is a cutoff
time
where it becomes a negative experience.
The problem with baseball is sometimes you just never know when that time's going to come. You watch these games, they move along, and all of a sudden it's like, oh, this game's going on great, and all of a sudden seventh inning. Next thing you know, an hour and a half later, you're barely in the ninth inning.
Well, John might have another question. My last question, well, I'm going to have a bunch more, but it's really about the game. So you've been doing this for several years now, and you've seen a bunch of guys progress to the bigs and have great careers. The game is changing. It's specialized, launch angle, all this stuff. Personally, I like defense. I like triples. I like first to third, on a single type stuff. So I don't enjoy the game. And home run's still exciting, but I just don't enjoy the game as much as I used to, and I still love it. I was wondering what your thoughts were on the changes in general.
I still love it. It's still, and I don't watch a ton of baseball because I'm running around, but, seeing bases loaded, 2 outs, and, we hit, either hit a ball or we get struck out. Like, I still enjoy that part of it. I also enjoy seeing the strategy. Did he send him home at third? Should he kept him? Should he have sent him? Things like that. I enjoy that aspect of it. Yeah, we love to see home runs here, right? That's part of it. But I still enjoy it, and it's a lot of fun. And I think our game times are coming in more in line with 2.5 hours, and I think that's probably going to be the goal. And I think that's a good amount of time, good extension, attention span that we can work with. So
You good, John?
I'm good. I'm just in awe. I'm just sitting out here looking at the field.
Yeah, it is nice office view for you.
no,
right?
yeah, it's not. My office is actually upstairs, right outside the YG Club, and I have a lot of glass, and I oversees the field, and everyone's like, "Why don't you have your shades open?" I'm like, I see the ballpark every day. It's good. It's good. It's very nice. We have great staff to take care of it. And
Is there a sellout tonight?
I think we're pretty close. I'm pretty sure we're.
Now, you usually sell out almost all the games, pretty much.
Well,
right?
weekends, right?
Yeah. Once we get out of April and May, that's typically the slower times. But yeah, this is a busy night this weekend. We have Whalers Alumni Weekend, so this is always a busy weekend.
So the people still perk up for that.
They do. It's exciting. I'm being from New Hampshire, I remember the Whalers, but I don't remember watching them and bringing the players in. And they just did a hospital visit this morning, and there's still a lot of excitement.
All right, this has been great. Tim Restall, the team president of the Hartford Yard Goats, John Senecal, Brian Shackman. You've been listening to Fanbase, a deep dive into the greatest rivalry in sports.